Meeting of the Harwich Community Preservation Committee being held in the Don B. Griffin Room, Harwich Town Hall, 732 Main Street in Harwich, on Thursday, January 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. The taping, if anybody is going to tape, the town is going to do the recording and taping. Anybody else that wants to do that, please inform the chair. All right, any guests, any comments? Moving on. CPC meeting, December 12th, 2024. Can I have approval of the minutes?
No, we don't have minutes.
We don't have minutes. Got it. Okay, so next, the discussion and possible vote of the whiff. What I will say to the board is, at Monday night's Board of Selectmen meeting, they had a discussion at the very end whether or not they wanted to carry forward with the whiff. And at this time, they're not going to. They're going to wait till after town meeting and have that discussion, if at all. So, does everybody understand that? Mm-hmm. Any questions? All right. Next. We're going to discuss the funding for the 24-25 CPA funding requests. We'll start with the Lower Cape Housing Institute for this Community Development Partnership for $10,000. Who would like to open the discussion? We all look filled.
I'll open the discussion.
You have the floor.
Okay. I'm basically for it. I've gone through a lot of their programs. They're very informative. And it's been something this body, this committee has been approving year over year. And I think it's a value for the $10,000. They do good work, and they're very instructions are very good, and their people are very good.
Okay, are you all set, sir? Thank you. Marcy?
I would agree with Art. I've done some of their webinars, they're very informative. In fact, on the 14th, they're doing one about wastewater. So I support it,
Okay, are you all set?
Yeah, I am, thank you.
Robert?
Again, I support it. I have attended quite a few of their meetings and definitely their seminars. The only thing is that it seems like Harwich generally doesn't attend, other than probably this group here.
It's true.
I just don't understand why, because it is a good source of information.
Robert, are you all set?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Emily?
Happy to go. Same as the others, I'm supportive of it, but similar feedback around, like, is there more or different ways that we could encourage Harwich participation? I know we talked a lot about they do use the content digitally, so it's hard to track how many people are, it didn't sound like they were tracking how many people were consuming it in that forum, but if there are other ways, again, to get it out to more Harwich folks and amplify it a bit, that would be great, but I am supportive.
Okay, you all set?
Yes, thank you.
John?
I support this. I can't say that I have any direct feedback because I haven't been to any of the programs. I've been focused on other areas, but I generally support this. I think that housing is a critical issue, and training people up is something we should be doing and supporting at a relatively modest price for us. Thank you.
All right, John. Kathy?
Well, like I've said before, I mean, I generally in support of it. I just am disappointed in the participation in the town of Harwich. And we've talked to them about it for a few years in a row. How can we change that? And it's not, I'm not sure our committee can do anything. I think we just have to sort of get the message back to the housing coordinator that we're concerned about that, and we'd like to see more participation, however that, whatever that form it takes. So,
Are you all set, Kathy?
yep.
Is the the name of the person that's in charge at CDP is Amanda
Yeah,
Burnham?
very.
Bremen.
Rebin.
Okay, she sent me an email asking about the meeting tonight, and she was interested in how we could provide more information to her so she could have more of an outreach for people to get involved with through the CPC. Who are the members of the housing coordinated, the housing group? Are,
Housing, yeah, the housing.
so, can you both, in some way, shape, or form, this is something that the CPC, the board shouldn't be doing as a group. It should be something that the representatives from the group should be doing, whoever is part of your field representative. Just to have a chat with her and see what she has to say about it, what she's looking for.
I'd be glad to.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
You're
Is there any question, anything else from any of the other board members about this particular topic? Hearing none, moving on.
Marcy did,
I'm
didn't she?
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marcy,
I-
I didn't see you.
I'm sorry, are you able to share that email to me? That you
Um,
received?
Yes, I'll have the secretary share it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know how it came through on my personal email,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
okay, moving on. CH2, Harwich Affordable Trust Funding Project for $750,000. Any member like to open this discussion? Hearing none, I'll, go ahead.
I just, backing up one second, if you look at the CDP application, Amanda's email is on there.
Okay,
Thank you,
That's
Kathy.
it.
thank you.
Now you have the floor.
Okay. Okay. Regarding the Affordable Housing Trust, I am in favor of funding the trust in the amount of $500,000 this year. Part of me wants to see how the rental subsidy program sort of starts and how, well it takes off, because these programs traditionally takes a while for them to get up and running. I don't know what the number is that optimally they might look for in number of families per year. Let's just throw in out a number 20. The first year they may have like 8 families, something like that. And part of that is because getting the word out, but also part of it is that there's not that much housing out there that qualifies sometimes for the subsidies. So I'd like to see us just wait a little while on that and see how that, plays out. That's just my feeling.
Thank you, Kathy.
May I ask a question on
Sure.
this? Just procedurally, if we recommend an amount that's less than what they asked for, how does that work? Do they come back with did they come back and say, okay, we're modifying our approach? Okay.
No, it's
No,
just,
that's something that we do as a board.
Just setting expectations, like I was looking at their proposal and how they broke out the funding. Like, would we want from them, like, okay, if we're only getting 500, here's how we think we would allocate that, but we're okay.
not, I think if it was a different.
Different
kind of
project, okay.
project, but I think for the trust, we allocate the funds and then they get the
Distribute.
funds and we don't have
Okay.
anything to do with how the funds are dispersed necessarily,
Okay.
so,
That
Yeah.
makes sense to me, I was just asking.
yeah.
Anything else? Would you like to comment on?
I'm still processing that.
I'll come back.
Okay.
John?
Yeah, just following on that question. They proposed 2 distinct buckets, and if we were to approve that with those 2 distinct buckets, and that ended up as part of the warrant article for approval, then the voters are are voting on a specific allocation of funds in that case. We've certainly seen that in other projects. So I guess my question is your idea that we would be explicit about that, or that we would just approve $500,000 and leave it up to the Housing Trust to allocate as they saw fit?
Yeah, I haven't gone over the application again recently. I know that they had separated it out in their budget, but I thought the request was just for $750,000.
They-
Well, it's,
They-
they
they're
give a
break-
project budget and they're very
Okay.
explicit
They're
about it.
breaking it out.
Okay.
pretty specifically.
No, I have it. Keep talking.
Just a-
It's attached to the, the standard it's one of the attached documents. So I generally have questions about, for me, part of it is, part of the decision about how much is it? What are we competing against? What is this project competing against in the overall set of projects? And what do we have available, which is still very unclear to me. So, I'm a little resistant to approving the entire amount, but I need to see what the rest of the picture is.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to
Thank
say?
you.
All right, thank you, John. Well, that brings up a concern for me, because I understood it as two distinct values that they wanted, but yet it's all going to the trust. So the trust is gonna disperse the money. Your
Yes.
question on town meeting floor really throws a monkey wrench into that.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, if I might, I mean, we've funded the trust for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. And, some of the money that they had from prior years, they're using to subsidize the new rental subsidy program now. We didn't say whether that was appropriate or not. We just funded them the total amount. So, you know what I'm saying?
so you're saying, actually, the way funding with CPA funds, funding the trust with CPA funds, the way that works now, it actually doesn't matter, because we're really just approving one thing, and their budget, and
Right.
even though their budget is attached to the proposal and would in some way or another be part of whatever gets voted on town meeting floor, since the money is transferring to them without real strings.
Right.
I see, okay. Well, bottom line again for me is, I want to see what the deal is with the rest. There's some big questions still on available funds and eligibility of some of the other projects, which I want to see the whole picture.
All right, before you jump in, Bob, I can answer some of that. I had someone ask me today about when we're gonna have the documentation as far as the truing up of the process is concerned. And their response, the young lady's response when she was here was, towards the end of January.
Right.
So I haven't made an attempt to pester them on that. I want to give them the opportunity to
Sure.
complete their job.
Yeah.
So, and the numbers are one thing, but it's actually whether we're gonna use the estimated receipts, or what did I say before?
Certified.
Certified?
Yeah,
The difference between them, that's a significant
the existing,
difference.
yeah.
So, it's
So
just, we can make determinations. We can have these discussions. We pretty much know what the values are, what they should be, based on the levy, based on the state monies, which we know, both of those, and the interest would be the only question, and that's been running around 25,000. So we have a solid number we can work off of.
Okay,
But I'm gonna wait, before I call a vote on any of it, I want that final number. So I can, at least in my head, make the determination of where we're headed. but I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for.
I don't have those numbers in my head, so I can't.
Okay, fair enough. Robert?
Yeah, I just, on the application in the project budget, they're very clear that 500,000 is to replenish available funds, and they point out that they allocated over $1 million during this last year. And then in the upcoming, they specify 250 to support the continuation of the rental program. So they do lay out very clearly what the total 750 is for.
Okay.
That's all.
All set, Bob. Art?
Okay, well, I think part of my question was answered. How has the money been broken out? And I was gonna ask someone sitting in the room, they could clarify that, probably.
This is a discussion for the
Just-
board.
just a discussion, okay, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, I know how they spend their money. I sit in all their meetings, as many as I can attend, and they're very frugal, they're very thorough, they don't spend it freely, believe me. So I'm inclined to say yes on this. I support everything they're doing, and it's a yes for me.
Okay, thank you. Marcy?
I probably don't have as much information as Art, I do support it, but I understand Kathy's concern, because, as she was saying, every 4 or 5 years, more and more money's being allocated or granted to the Affordable Housing Trust, so I guess I'm not sure on one way or the other. So I would guess I would probably go with the consensus.
Okay. Is there anything else from the board on this subject? Hearing none, moving on. CH3, Forward of the Rock, Regional Housing for Cape Codders with Disabilities, the amount is $120,000. Would any of the board members like to open this discussion?
Before you go there, I did receive this email with some follow-ups. That's all as anybody else. Okay.
Okay, this is from,
Mr. Kaplan,
okay,
who's the forward?
this is an informative for tonight's meeting. The Barnstable County Commissioners voted on November 26 to award the group $326,850. That was their request. The Falmouth CPC on November 21st unanimously voted to award $100,000 funding request. The Eastham CPC voted last night unanimously to award $50,000 funding. We have received a mortgage lender commitment for $750,000. Thank you very much, Dave Kaplan. So, I'm going to open this up to Art. We have more information.
You have more information? Sounds like they have good information. This is one, I was in the room when they made the presentation, and it was a lengthy presentation. And my only hesitation is, after they get their housing constructed, looks like they're on the road for it, this is an ongoing expense year over year, because it's not gonna run by itself. There's gonna need probably, if they're gonna have staff there, the normal care and maintenance of a house, all the things that go along with it, whether it's my house, your house, or their house, it costs money to run it. And there was very little discussion about that. You're investing in something you know what you're gonna get today, but it's an ongoing expenditure. And are they gonna be, is the community, when I say the community, you know, Cape Cod wide or how far their net goes out, gonna be supporting this going forward? It looks like it's in the affirmative right now, but we don't know what's gonna be down the road.
Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I believe from everything that we read and from the presentation that they've got a proven track record with the first set of buildings that they built. So I think they've figured out how to account for the maintenance and that kind of thing. And I believe the state provides funding per resident, which covers a lot of the expenses for the staff and everything. I don't think they, what I'm saying is, I don't think they come back to the towns for further funding. This is funding for the structure,
That's it.
not for the future.
We don't know what the future is.
No, but, I mean, I think they have a track record so far.
Yeah.
They've been able to build and run it, and I guess successfully. I mean, it's a nice-looking building, and it hasn't caused any waves in the community or anything.
Oh, I believe in the project. You know, I was an advocate of one here in town, but so I would vote in affirmative on it.
You're not online right now. You're not online right now. This is the discussion.
Yes.
We don't necessarily have to.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
But I'm in favor of the project.
there we go. Thank you. Kathy, anything else?
Oh, that was my turn?
Well, good.
Darn, no.
I know better.
I am generally in favor of this project, given the strength of the application, the strength of their past project, the demonstrated need in the Cape Cod community at large, the fact that it's actual bricks and mortar and something's happening to address a need. That's basically where I sit with this.
Thank you, Kathy. Marcy?
I definitely support this. I thought their presentation was done very well. Like Kathy was saying, they know what they're doing. They have brick and mortar. They're very familiar with their clientele and what their needs are. So I'm supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. Robert?
Yeah, I think it's a terrific program, a real need for it. The only thing I would say is that I wouldn't, if we need to cut back somewhere, I might not award the full amount, but just scale it back a little bit if necessary, depending upon what our final numbers are. That's it.
All right, thank you, Robert. Emily?
Similar sentiment, very supportive. I thought their presentation and thoroughness was phenomenal. I learned a lot. I wasn't familiar with this program. I drive by that, the Dennis location all the time, and I just really appreciated that, and very, very supportive.
All set, Emily.
All set.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, I agree with all the comments. I was rather impressed with the presentation. They seemed, I don't recall that they stumbled answering any of the questions, and they seem to have things well in hand, and it certainly is a worthy and needed project, so I would support this. Again, contingent on funds availability, but
Okay, thank you, John. All right, next, the North Harwich Gravestone Project, Cemetery Department for $37,015. Would anybody like to open a discussion? Robert?
Sure, I mean, she's been doing it for a long time now. I think the performance that the Cemetery Commission has done is fantastic, and I totally, fully support this one.
Thank you, Robert. Marcy?
I support it as well. Robin is obviously very passionate and knowledgeable, so I don't have any further questions on it. I think I support it.
Thank you, Marcy. John?
yeah, I support this. I don't really have any further comments.
Okay. Emily?
Same, very supportive.
Art?
I support it.
Kathy?
Yeah, no, I support the project. I mean, they have a good track record in terms of these gravestone preservation projects. They usually are exceed in terms of the budget, request and end up returning funds. So I think it's, kind of cut and dry.
Okay, anything from anybody else on the board? Okay, hearing none, moving on. Cape Cod Rail Trail Land Preservation Project, Harwich Conservation Trust, $500,000, OS1. Would anybody like to open this discussion? Russ?
I'm just going to say that I support it, and they do a lot of good work, and not to say.
Kathy?
Well, I'll just say, as a member of the Real Estate and Open Space Committee, we totally supported this application. Again, I mean, I'm sure that we've heard this expression a few different times with other projects, that it's like the last largest piece of property in a particular part of Harwich that needs preserving, but it is in fact, and it's a very visible part of Harwich, almost iconic in terms of its relationship to the bike trail and the cranberry bogs, et cetera. So I think it would be worthwhile preserving if we can, help preserving.
Robert?
Yeah, I'm very supportive of pretty much all their projects, and this one included.
John?
Yeah, I mean, I would put this at the top of the list, or near the top of the list, things we should be spending money on. And it's important for a number of reasons. One that I'd like to mention is that this property is, an important part of the Herring River watershed, and the health of the Herring River watershed in the future will depend in part on how this land is managed. And there are so many threats to the health of the Herring River watershed that securing this property in the hands of a very deliberate and conscientious organization like HCT, I think is a very important thing to do. So I fully support this.
Did I miss anybody? Emily?
I don't have much to add, but same, very, very supportive. I think Don put it very well. There's so much environmental benefit here, but also for recreation and people, and it's so visible. I think it's a great project.
Art?
I support the project, but would hate to be the odd man out here. I asked a question and I got an answer about the presentation. Apparently, there was no real presentation before this board, before I came along.
It was the
And,
week, it was one of the meetings before you joined us.
Right.
We
Right.
had a presentation.
But I got the, where it falls in, and it was just like an afterthought. I like to hear Michael Lack, because I like to hear him speak, and come before us and just lay out the plan, I think it's a great project,
What do you mean an afterthought?
It's in the, what am I looking at?
He
here?
did present to the board.
Meeting minutes of the October 24th.
Okay.
And under other, item B, do application presentations. And it just goes on to say, Harwich Conservation Trust requesting $500,000 by the executive, Michael Lack, and the $500,000 to preserve land, some 50 acres, the largest remaining unprotected privately held land in the town. So I go a few more
Did
words.
you watch the meeting? Did you watch the meeting?
This was before I was on the board.
Right, I know. Did you
No,
go?
No, I was not at the meeting.
Well, you could go back and watch the meeting if you want to see the presentation. Because we did have a whole presentation.
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
Yes,
he
that's what I'm trying to tell you. We
Oh.
had a presentation.
Okay. And I stand corrected.
Okay.
Okay, is there anybody else? All right, at this point, I'm gonna interject, there's a couple of units that were withdrawn. One was the Island Pond Farm Preservation Project of $200,000. That was withdrawn. And the next one was the Trail Boardwalk Design and Permitting of Island Pond of $59,400.
Well, they're not on our list, I don't think.
No, they won't be on yet, but they are withdrawn.
You sent that to me.
So,
Just as a side note,
yes, sir.
I left those
Got it. I just-
proposals up
Okay.
on the webpage with a note that they have been withdrawn.
Thank you, John. All right, next. Rec 2, Herring River Boardwalk Design and Permitting, Howard Conservation Commission, $168,000. Would anybody like to open this discussion? Mr. Chairman?
You're looking at me, okay.
Yes, I am.
I fully support this. This is an important bit of work. The Conservation Commission last year, either 24 or 23, I forget which, completed a land management plan or an update of an existing land management plan for the Bell's Neck area. And one of the items there was talking about this bit that needs attention because of sea level rise, the more frequent occurrence of high tides that are eroding the path from the end of North Road that goes to the bridge. That needs attention, and I think this is a worthy project for us to improve the conservation values and also the recreational values there, so access to that North Road Bridge is secured without incurring further degradation of the tidal area there. So I support this.
Thank you, John. Emily? That was a deep breath.
I'm supportive
You've
of
been giving
this.
this a lot of thought.
No, I'm supportive of it. Is this in line with what we typically see for design and permitting costs? It just feels it's
Design and permitting costs have gone way,
way up. Okay.
It is a lot of money for design.
It is,
and permitting.
that, and
no
that's what my
question.
sigh
Yes,
was.
I agree. I totally agree with you.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, but if it's in line with what we see and if they've gone up, then I'll rescind my sigh and say I'm supportive.
Okay, all set, Emily.
Thank you, yes, all
Marcia.
set.
I say I'm supportive.
Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Emily in that the cost of just the design and permitting just seems so high. I don't know what the going rates are. I do know all of that stuff has gone up, engineering and et cetera, so I'm having to assume that these are the general costs. My concern is, what is the project gonna cost afterwards, and where will they be seeking funding for the project? I think Amy mentioned they were looking at some grants perhaps or something. But, it could be very costly if this is what the permitting
Right,
costs. So that's a concern.
All set, Kathy?
Yep.
Robert?
Yeah, it's exact same thing what Kathy was saying. There's more to come, I think, for asking for funding on it, but it is a fantastic project, and it's the part of that area I like the best, too, personally.
I agree with Kathy. If we don't know what the total funding is gonna be here, we could be coming up against something that maybe in a couple of years we really can't afford, and then we spent all this money on a report or design that's not gonna go anywhere. If the design is $168,000, what is the construction gonna be?
That's not what we have in front of us. They're asking for design.
I know we are, but but at some point, someone's gonna come and ask for, so, but we should be looking forward also.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you all set? Are you all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Anything from anybody else? All right, moving on. the Brooks Infield, it's Rec 3, Brooks Infield Replacement Project, Town of Harwich Recreation Department, for $143,000. Would anybody like to open this discussion? Rob?
Sure. No, I like this. I think the Brooks Park and that baseball field is used more and more. In the past, I've never noticed much activity, but certainly in the last year or two, that field is really used a lot. So I think this would be a great improvement to the field.
Thank you, Robert. Marcy?
I agree with Bob. I mean, it is used a lot, and I support it. It's part of recreation.
Thank you, Marcy. All right,
I agree. I think it's a good project, and I'm in favor of it.
thank you, Rob. Emily?
I am supportive as well. I do, I drive by it a lot, as we all do, and see a lot of activity there. And as I remember, I think the estimated life of these refurbishments was at least 10 years, 15, so it feels, that feels right to me. So very supportive.
John?
I'm going to be the odd man out. I expressed myself, I think, pretty clearly when the presentation happened there. I'm concerned about conservation values here and how the town of Harwich is dealing with all its recreational open space. I think more thought has to be given to that. I do get that this is heavily used area and needs to be taken care of, but I want to see some acknowledgement of some effort to update how turf is kept in good shape in the town. So
All
thank you.
set, John. Thank you. Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised at how it only covered the infield versus the whole field. Seems like a lot of money, but I don't know how much these things cost. I guess I would look more favorably upon this more because of the safety issues rather than, how it looks or, whatever. So, and I know that that was a big concern of the recreation department, was that it was becoming unsafe.
Okay, is there anything from anybody else? And I'm the representative of the Recreation Commission to the board, to the CPC. So I try to allow the board to have their say and not interject at this point, just for the new members, so they understand. If there's any questions you have that I may be able to answer, I will try.
Good, thank you.
So, okay, moving on.
Question.
Good, Kathy.
Yeah, did
There you
Eric,
go, I opened the door. Floodgates are open.
did Eric prioritize his applications for us? Because if we have multiple applications from one department, they're supposed to prioritize.
Yes, they are. And I don't know the answer, honestly don't know the answer to that question. I think he did, but I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember, and I don't remember I don't think we asked him last meeting.
We're not supposed to have to ask them, it's in the application.
Is,
Right, John? I'm just saying, if they don't want us to prioritize ourselves,
you opened the door.
then
Did
we,
you read the application?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It wasn't prioritized in the application?
no. I don't think so.
Okay.
No, he hasn't, yet. He has to prioritize them for us.
Fair enough, fair enough. I can make that formal request. Be more
Okay.
than happy to. But there's one question outside of the recreation applications as they stand here, there's one question I've wanted to ask the chairman. In your time with conservation, in your discussion with your board, have you approached DPW with any of the concerns that you have? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I'm just asking the question.
Well, I'm going to answer in two parts.
Go ahead.
One is, my reservations are my reservations, not the reservations of the Conservation Commission. I should have made that clear earlier.
Okay, all right?
Uh,
And I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, but I want to answer
Yeah.
the question. The other part is, No, except we are now on the Conservation Commission, starting a process. In fact, last night, we had an extended conversation, which was a reaction to a proposal I was making about an initial step to try to get a handle on the problem of fertilizer on property in Harwich. And there is going to be a public meeting at the end of this month where this conversation is going to be had, hopefully with a lot of public input from any interested parties. And my proposal about how to deal with this would involve whoever in the town of Harwich is caring for town of Harwich
Yes,
properties. Yes, so there's going to be a conversation, hopefully a constructive and informative conversation, starting soon.
all right. Thank you for answering that for me. And again, it wasn't to put you on the spot. I was
That's
just-
fine, that's fine. We need to talk about it.
Okay, next. The Sand Pond additional funding project from the Recreation Department for $33,000. Would anybody like to open this conversation?
Well, I'll jump in there. I say, we started the project, I think we should finish it. It doesn't make any sense at all just to do part and then say, oh, well, we can't finish it. I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Marcy.
Also in favor of it. I thought his explanation was very clear, what needs to be done, make it safe, and I think we should just get it completed, so I'm in favor of it, support it.
Thank you, Marcy. John?
Yeah, I agree. This is another example of costs spiraling out, and I agree, we need to just finish the project, and I certainly hope that this, assuming that these funds get approved by us and by town meeting, that's the end of it, and the project will be complete, but I think we need to just move ahead and do that.
Thank you, John. Emily?
I agree, I'm supportive.
Emily, you're gonna have to speak a little louder.
Oh, I agree.
Thank you. Kathy?
Just a point is that the only money that's been spent so far has been for the septic. Okay, the rest of the money is sitting in the account, so it's not like the money's gone.
Right.
Okay. I agree that we've supported it thus far and should probably complete the project. Personally, as a taxpayer, I have a problem with a almost $200,000 restroom. So, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Robert?
Yeah, I mean, this has been, since I joined CPC, I think it's been on it, ever since. It's been going on forever, and unfortunately, if it was done earlier, I think we would have saved a lot of money, because I thought the original bill was only $100,000, and it just seems to have jumped up several times, but, yeah, definitely, we gotta get it done.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Anything from anybody else? Moving on. Veterans Memorial Shade Complex. Town of Harwich Recreation Department for $100,000.
May I ask first, were there any follow-ups? I think there, okay. I think there were a variety of
Emily.
questions. Yeah, I thought there were a variety of questions we had related to this. I personally had some around, other examples of where this had been successful. I think there was questions that we had around the,
Right.
I
Foundation.
don't want to say floor, but that's
Yeah.
not what I'm looking for, just like,
Right, concrete.
the concrete pad or
It's not gonna
not,
be a
it wouldn't have one,
Right,
right?
it's
And if
just-
is that the way to go, et cetera. So I'm hesitant, very hesitant on this one. I like the idea, but the execution I'm not particularly comfortable with.
Thank you, Emily. Kathy?
Yeah, I agree with Emily in that it seems to be a lot of money for some stanchions and sailcloth, which is basically what it is.
So, why-
Well, I mean, that's basically what it is, right?
Have you ever tried to buy a new set of sails for a boat anytime
I
recently?
know, I'm not saying they're not expensive, but I'm just saying I mean, I'm not sure that, I don't know. It just, one would think, maybe there are other practical applications out there, like a pergola type kind of thing, or a structure that, I don't know. I don't know, it just seems like a lot.
I'm gonna answer that question at the end
Yeah,
of this.
yeah, and especially being just on the dirt. It's like, what if it, I don't know, what if it gets all muddy and yucky? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I have similar reservations about this. I'm, in terms of priorities, again, I'd like to see the recreation department's priorities on these things. I get the point, I get the statement of need, but it seems a little excessive, regardless of how expensive a new set of sails would be.
Thank you, John. Marcy?
Yeah, I think it's a little excessive. I really can't, I'm more of a visual person. I'm trying to visualize what this looks like. It just, to me, it just doesn't seem practical. It's a little more excessive.
Okay, thank you. Robert?
Yeah, I had just expressed concern over the sails because they have to be replaced. They get mildewy and everything. It's not, there were a lot of good explanations for doing it, but that combined with just having the dirt floor, and then you're gonna really concentrate the traffic. So it really will be messy and muddy and everything, and I'd much rather have them come back with something, a more permanent structure that's gonna last at least 30 years, and with some kind of flooring. I'd much rather see that myself.
All right, thank you, Robert.
I'm gonna say, I'm a no. It's much too much money. I have a sail over if you want to see it, when I put it up next spring. It covers my deck in the back of the house, and it's lasted, but it didn't cost me anywhere near that. And then when the breakdown was for putting in 4 posts, was gonna be $33,000. No. It's just too much money for what it is.
Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, I think after our conversation, after the presentation, I just think it would have been helpful if we had some other alternatives that they had looked into, so that we could do a comparison at least. I mean, I know what their recommendation would be, or what is. I'm sure they looked at some stuff, but it would have just been nice to have some options, I guess. What's available out there to provide the same kind of thing, that's all. Shade.
Okay,
Take it away.
anything from anybody else? All right, now, as far as the shade is concerned, this was the cheapest option that the board could possibly come up with, that the rec department could come up with. If we went back to like the pergola that we have up in White House Field, not White House Field, but Brooks Park, that would be $250,000, $260,000, $270,000 to put a unit like that in the back. Because that's what the numbers were when they ran the numbers. As far as the sale's concerned, I have my own concerns about putting up a sale. Sunlight doesn't go through a sale. It's filtered. It's gonna kill the grass. And if it rains, the sail's not gonna stop the water from going through. It is gonna get muddy. That's true. But to provide the service for the young people that are out there, for the kids, essentially that's what it's for. Because of the amount of programming that the rec department's doing in the back behind the community center, to me, it's necessary. Can it be fine-tuned? Yes. And I'm not qualified to tell you what that fine-tuning is. So, go ahead, Kathy.
How about we get 10 picnic tables, 10 umbrellas. Big umbrellas. The umbrellas go up and down every day, you know, they secure them. They're bolted down. I mean, that would provide almost the same amount of shade for way less money.
I don't know what picnic tables are going for these days.
I know, I'm just saying, well, they included picnic tables in their estimate, I think, too, so.
Robert,
No, it's, and I had the same thought. I mean, for short money, you could buy a couple of those pop-up tents. They'd only last a year, I'm sure.
You're right.
But they would be cheaper than doing this. But if you did want to do this, I'd much rather spend more money for a permanent structure that it's not going to have to be repaired in 5 years, that, you know, real strong wind and nobody predicted it to take the sails down and they're ripped. Believe me, the cost will be double in 5 years than it is now. So I'd much rather spend more money on a permanent structure.
okay,
So
understood. John?
just a comment of my frustration with this discussion is, you're saying $250,000 for a
Permanent structure.
for a small deck with a roof over it. Someone can presumably build a house full of appliances, walls, plumbing, electricity for only a small multiple of that, like 3 or 4, like a much larger building. This
Not
is,
anymore, John.
what,
The
you know,
estimates-
the most modest 2-bedroom
Okay.
home, I'm not talking about something that's gonna go
The
up on
most
the,
modest, I'll give you an idea what numbers are in today's market.
please do.
Square foot to the finish, excluding the foundation and the property, are running between $400,000 and $800,000. Wide swath, but depending on what the demand of the individual is. If you take a 1,000-foot house, small house, by today's standards, it starts, just the house is $400,000. Or in the upper level, that house is $800,000. The numbers are crazy. I'm not justifying what it is. The numbers are crazy.
No, but so, you're making my point for me, because all I'm saying is, you said a pergola. I don't know how big the pergola was, but that's like a half or a third of what you're talking about for a full house. That's a disconnect that I don't understand. And I don't know whether it has to do with the whole municipal procurement process.
Yeah,
That's a lot of it.
exactly.
That's a lot of it.
No
And
comments.
I'm not sure that we should be playing into that myself. I mean, this is just such a stark example of that, and we have other examples tonight that probably, you know, are of the same sort, but I'm not so happy to support that idea. Anyway,
All right, any comments from anybody else? All right, moving on.
That's it.
The next one is the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School for $987. I'm gonna hold off on a discussion of that because there's more information that's out there that's coming. So at our next meeting, that will be at the top of the agenda. So, are there any comments from any of the board members? Rob?
I did miss the meeting, although I looked at the video. Are we okay spending that amount of money on this project? I mean, you know, we know we can't do the buildings and stuff, and I assume we would limit saying it's only for trails and what we can fund. I don't understand that part of it.
That information will be more transparent
Okay,
at our next meeting.
okay, that's fine.
I'm waiting for
Okay,
that information.
yeah,
That type of.
just as long as we're getting that information, good.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Moving on. Possible update of CPC financials. As I've spoken to some of you already, I've been asked to make an inquiry. I don't want to do that until the end of the month, until the person who made the presentation gave us a rough idea that it would be at the end of January. So I'd rather just let them do what they need to do to accomplish what they need to accomplish. I may make an inquiry by our next meeting is when?
23rd.
23rd?
No, that's,
No, that's the 19th.
the 23rd is,
Are.
well, it's if we need it. It's not a guarantee. We don't need to have one on the 23rd
It was a motion.
if we needed it, though. I know we have it on the
Oh,
schedule,
Okay,
Okay.
but
So-
if,
it's what's our next meeting, the 19th?
no, February, our regular meeting would be February, what?
13.
13th.
So,
So did you, can
13.
I ask a question?
go.
Did you find out when the warrant articles had to be submitted?
Not yet, I didn't get it. Not
Okay.
yet, not
So
yet.
just as if the warrant articles are not due till mid-February, then we probably don't have to meet in January, we can just have our February meeting. If we think we could, it seems like there's fairly decent consensus about a lot of stuff tonight, so I don't think it would be a contentious meeting necessarily that would take would take 2 meetings or anything like that. So I would be in favor of not having the January 23rd meeting. Just, that's my opinion.
Okay.
You guys want it? That's fine.
Anybody want to have that discussion? Let's have that discussion.
I say,
Marcy?
as she was talking about the warrants, if we don't need to have that additional meeting in January, we could wait till February. I'd be fine with that as well.
Emily?
I'm in the same, sorry, my.
Oh, Emily, so
Tired
I want
today.
another meeting.
No, well, it's funny, 'cause I.
To go to.
Well, I'll give this, the full update in the social section, but I'm putting together a little social strategy document that I was gonna send to everybody and wanted to meet to keep it going. I do not wanna have a meeting just to talk about that, but
Yeah.
that's what was going through my
Okay.
head.
Are you all set?
I'm all set.
All right. John?
So my only reservation about skipping the second January meeting is being able to digest whatever information it is that we're not gonna have until the end of January about that biggest request there. So those reservations would be abated if you would tell me you would be sharing that information with us maybe via email or something when it becomes available, or if there's some way to share that without having a public meeting.
I'm not sure that's appropriate.
Okay, well, that's my reservation then. Yeah, but, and if you can say something that will allay that, because I don't really want to have a second meeting this month, it's just,
I don't want to step into that hole.
No. But can I ask a question? John, if we don't have the numbers on the 23rd,
Yeah.
should we even have the meeting? I mean, if we don't have any numbers,
It becomes a.
that's
moot point.
that's gonna dictate some people's thoughts.
Or we could have the numbers.
Good, but we don't know.
So I would keep it as it stands now.
which
Until
is
we-
what? Still scheduling?
Yeah.
And then when you find out when things are gonna be available, then you will decide whether we have the actual meeting or not? Is that what you're saying?
Essentially, yes.
It's okay.
Okay, well,
Robert?
Yeah, so now I got a little confused. The information on the Rec 6, you say is going to come before the end of January, or you think it might be the end of February? The additional
Oh,
information?
Rec 6, the
Oh,
information
I'm
on
sorry,
that?
the Cape Cod Regional Tech School
Right.
article. You said more information's coming that's
Yes.
relevant.
And I would provide that for the next meeting?
Well, when you say the next, would it be definitely here by the 23rd?
Yes.
Oh, see, that's why I kind of think the 23rd, because that may, whatever that information may generate more questions. That would be my only concern. Whereas if we waited till the 13th and we had some more questions, is it too late?
No. I,
If,
you're putting me in a spot.
I think
Well-
Bob is saying is if we have
No, we-
unanswered questions,
We'll have,
how will we get those answers?
we pretty much have the,
Answers.
it's whether or not,
Right,
it's all about documentation,
right, okay,
plain and simple. I don't want to release that information now
okay.
until it's completed. So, I don't generally do this. So I'm giving I'm giving an individual, I'm giving a
Sure.
project some leeway,
Yeah,
and they definitely need the leeway.
yeah.
So,
No, I don't mind that
Chair-
part of it.
chairman's
I
choice
don't-
on
I-
that one.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that part at all. The more information we have and
The
better
better the
understanding, the
decision
better.
is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's just the timing, that's all, of when the warrants due, that's all.
Okay.
But I mean, otherwise, yeah, I don't need an extra meeting.
and again, what I can do, what I can do is I'll make another request. And I'll ask for that information on the warrant, and I'll email everybody. I'll send that out. Jim will send that out, so
Okay,
you have a better idea about that particular subject,
okay.
so. Things have to be done in duplicate and triplicate these days. Don't understand why. Anyway, any other questions?
Oh,
I'm in agreement for the next meeting, the 23rd. And so we might be just discussing this last item that we're waiting for more information on. And the numbers are gonna be important, because this last item is a big ticket. It's not one of.
It's a large amount.
yeah,
It's a large amount. It's not on the lower list, it's on the top list, so. And depending how the numbers, I'm thinking to myself, how the numbers go might affect our thinking on this last item,
Okay, just
because it is a large item.
as a general statement, CPC gets 3% of the levy. We get the amount, and you all have that document from the state every year. It's less, but that's available, and that information's on our website. I'm hoping. I haven't looked. I get a particular email with that information. And then, again, the amount of money based on what's in the coffers at any given point is in and around $23,000, $24,000 for the interest on the total amount of money that's encumbered for CPC. So, what's the levy, 1
So it equals about 1.6 million.
Yeah,
And then the state contribution is like 300,000 to 330 this year. So we're looking at 2 million, give or take, on either side that we know about.
right.
We don't know what's being carried over.
So, at least that I'm hoping that helps you a little bit
Yeah, it
with the
does.
amount of money.
You gotta figure in your mind, so, you don't wanna outspend ourselves.
And the thing is, what I'm hoping is gonna be captured is the amount of monies that we did not use in the past 3 years. And it, not only the amount of monies we didn't use, what monies those categories went into.
Yeah, what part did it?
So,
Okay.
hopefully that is what comes down the road for us. At least now you have a general idea. Robert?
so at this point, we're not going to have the 23rd, right?
Oh, I think he said we are,
Are, yeah.
unless he notifies us that we don't,
Oh,
we don't
okay,
have the
okay.
numbers, and we don't have any
Right.
answers to
Okay,
this
okay,
number,
okay.
our Rec 6 questions.
Okay,
Right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's up to the board. The board can change it all. It's to you folks. Any other questions, statements?
Question.
Yes, Marcy?
I know we talked about on the December 5th meeting in regards to a letter sent to, is it the Cinquit project that we had?
With Skinnequit Pond?
Skinnequit.
Haven't received anything?
The letter was sent. We're waiting for a response. We have been waiting for a response. So, I emailed the chairperson of the Board of Selectmen. she's our representative to the select board and to administration. So hopefully that information will be forthcoming.
Okay.
Anything, anybody else? Or did I dance around that one? Okay, next, social media, Facebook update?
Sure. So, as I alluded to, working on a little social strategy. I had a really phenomenal meeting. I was finally able to meet with Cindy from the chamber this morning. We had a great brainstorm for 45 minutes. She's very excited about helping to support us. Social, digital, other kinds of communication amplification. So I'm going to pull all of that, what we talked about, the ideas, into a little strategy document, because I think we should be doing more, and I want to make sure that this group's aligned on kind of the goals, the content buckets, metrics, et cetera. So I will work on that and get that out. Should I send that to you, Jan, and then to distribute? You and
Yeah.
Dave, or, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
It's going to be, it'll be simple, but it'll sum everything up. And then Cindy and I talked about some additional ideas in terms of maybe like little events and things that she could support. And there was one that was time pressing and wanted to get your perspective on this. So many of you probably know that through the chamber, she does monthly business networking after hours events. And she has not planned the February one yet. I think she has March and April already set. But she was wondering if we, CPC, wanted to be kind of featured as at one of these networking events. We could potentially have it at a location where we've supported a project. It could be the Chase Library, the South Harwich Meeting House. We talked about Brooks Academy, but I think they're doing paintings, so that won't be available now, but it's something that we could do later. And then a couple of us, Dave, Kathy, could come do a little spiel and talk about it. They get at least 40 participants each month. So just an interesting community event. We could capture some content, pictures, et cetera, to support CPC. Thoughts?
Outstanding. Questions?
I think that's a great idea, not for next month, but for us. But I think it's a great idea if we
Okay.
can roll it into something in the future,
Okay.
for sure.
She's already, as I mentioned, I think she has March, April planned already. I was trying to get it before May, but maybe we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I was trying to put some activities before town meeting, but we
Mm.
can think about it. And it actually, as the weather gets nicer, it would be a lot easier to find
Yeah.
locations, because we won't be constrained by the weather.
South Harwich Meeting House would be a biggie.
Yes,
It gets a lot of exposure.
yes. So are we anti-February? Too soon? Or should we,
Yeah, I think it's
Any-
too soon.
Any volunteers? This is out of my bailiwick.
I think it's a little too soon to kind of focus on the where and the when and the whatever.
Cindy does all, I mean, it would be us making sure that we have our act together in terms of what we're saying, if there's
Right.
materials that we're distributing.
Right.
If there's a content plan. I mean, Cindy does the rest of it. She coordinates.
Right, but I mean, I think it would be great if we could take a little time to kind of think about what would be like our top 3 venues, for something like this. And then I think participation is probably greater as the weather gets warmer.
Agreed.
So, I mean, like if we wanted to do it at the Elmer Kroll barn, or something, or,
That's exactly what, again,
Yeah.
because she already had stuff planned, I was trying to get it before May, but if
Yeah.
we don't have to,
yeah.
so, yeah, I can go back and chat with her and
So
we
we're
can have
talking
more
about
discussion.
self-promotion before town meeting, I hope?
That's
That's what-
what she was hoping, but now that the whiff thing has been eliminated as a threat temporarily, we don't have to necessarily do it right before town meeting, so it's
Right.
giving us, we can build in some time. We could do something at the firehouse. I mean, it's just like, that would be a great location to have a little open house event that they're talking about and have the Community Preservation Act funding
Yes.
discussed. So we just need a little time to, come up with
I
some-
don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
The push was, again, that time.
Yeah,
But
I get
since that's been alleviated, we can put more into thinking about location. And then Okay, great. So I can work with Cindy on that a little bit more, and we can think about dates and whatnot. And then there were a couple other things we were talking about too, like and I'll just throw out a couple more things, I'll shut up. July 1st is the anniversary, that will be the 20th anniversary of when we adopted the Community Preservation Act, so, which would be a really, I think it's a Tuesday. We could do something fun. Cindy was thinking like food trucks, like you could be at Brooks Park. I mean, we could do something, again, fun to celebrate it and bring some attention to CPC. And then couple that with some of these additional communications and awareness driving, educational, social pushes that I'm thinking about, again, which will be in the strategy document. And then one more last question. I think we had, when Kelly was on the committee, we had talked about, there had been prior discussion on not having CPC-specific social handles.
Stop.
Okay.
What? CPC social handles?
Our own Facebook or
on, Jan, I even
Instagram.
got that.
Sorry.
What did you say?
Our own, say, CPC doesn't have a dedicated Facebook page or LinkedIn or Instagram.
That's what you meant.
Yes,
by
that's what I
social
meant. I'm
handles.
sorry, I'm
Got it.
reverting into
No, I
my
was in trouble.
normal work speak. So I'm kind of changing, and at that point I had agreed with that. I'm kind of changing my tune. If we're going to put some more effort, you'll see in what I'm proposing, like doing a little bit more video and more frequent posts. And I think it could be beneficial to have handles of our own as destination for this type of content. Was there
A particular
a
reason?
particular reason? Was it the Harwich?
Well-
Define handles of our.
Sorry, handles is like you're not, like on Instagram, you're at, we'd be like at Harwich CPC, and it's called a handle. I'm
Our
sorry,
own,
that,
like, Facebook thing, our own Instagram, our own
I'm
whatever.
trying to do it fast so we get through
Okay,
it and
well,
I'm just
there were
reverting.
there were several things.
Okay.
Okay, one was, there was some legality that we talked about whether an organization like, a committee like this could
Could
have
have it,
one,
okay.
okay? Number
Good
two,
memory, that's true.
there was a question about having continuity with having someone provide the content and, monitor the page or pages or accounts, okay? Those were big concerns,
Okay. So was the
which is why we ended
legality-
up tacking on to like the Brooks Free
Right.
Library account, et cetera.
So, and I can put a little more of my thinking behind this in the strategy document, but if we're gonna put more effort into the content that we're creating, I would love to have a conversation about reevaluating having our own Facebook, Instagram, et cetera. Was it, and I guess my question really specifically is, were we told we couldn't from a legality standpoint?
Can I just try to cite a little history here? Because when I started here, I started advocating for just having online copies of our content. And there was a very involved discussion about concerns about the legality of that. That is, the need for retention of public records.
Right.
And that's what I think this issue, and people's feelings about that evolved over a couple of years. And now nobody's concerned about that. And I suspect that we should attempt to go through the same evolution with this. That is, let's talk about the public records issue, which I think is the issue. But Mary isn't here, and she was the person who was most vocal about this.
Right.
So it'd be useful to hear what she has to say about that. But I think what you're saying is great. We should have more of a focus, and we need to get this resolved. And I don't know if we ever went to council about this.
No, I didn't bring this to council. I think we were basing a lot of our information off Mary's recommendations.
Right, and I don't know if her thinking about this has evolved over the last couple of years, whether she is, she has expressed some satisfaction with having online soft copies. So she seems to have sort of let go of that issue as far as, our documents. But I don't know about the
Okay.
social media area whether that's still a concern.
Okay. So like I said, I'll lay out my point of view on it, and inclusive of like the monitoring, maintenance kind of thing, and then think about, like, you'd have to have a process from an approval standpoint, so that there's
Right.
consensus and we've vetted what's going up there, like, I do this for
Yeah.
life, so I,
Right.
have
Right.
a lot of experience there, and I think we could do it, so, but we can talk about that more thoroughly, whenever our next meeting happens to be.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's good, that's enough.
Any questions for the candidate? All right, moving on. Possible update, website, online application?
Nothing really, there's a couple more things that need to be updated online, which Kathy and I have communicated about, and that will be done. It's just updating the status of projects as posted online. Other than that, the next thing is just coming up with or editing the existing informational packet to apply to the next cycle, but I'll be looking at that over the next few months. Nothing we have to worry about right now, I don't think.
Okay. Thank you, John. Are we gonna do anything more with the banners around town? With the banners we have
Well, I
left?
think that we're waiting until better weather.
Yeah.
I don't wanna do that.
Just saying,
It's cold out there today.
it's cold and it's gonna be windy for the next 3 months, so I think wind is not our friend,
That's true.
so,
Okay. Just wanted to cover that.
yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, agenda points for our next meeting. Anybody want anything on the agenda for our next meeting? Whether it's the 23rd or not. Hearing none?
Just my social stuff, if you don't
And
mind.
I think the things that we discussed, which
Yeah.
was regarding the projects, rec needing to prioritize, us needing additional information on the Cape Tech High School, us getting the financials, those things that we need to know in order to make some informed decisions.
Were we supposed to review a contract? Were we supposed to review an agreement or did
The
we?
grants agreements,
Grant agreements.
that hasn't,
We kind of put that on the wayside in
Okay.
order to get through
this,
what our process is here,
Okay,
We vote.
so. In upcoming months. Is there anything anybody else wants on the agenda? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll
Motion
move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.